need to go far. You know how they brazenly talk about election in this country. You know, there was a time the Oba of Lagos said the people who don't vote for Igbos who don't vote for them will be driven into Lagoon. What's what else you want them to say? You see them on Twitter, they have handles that are dedicated to, attacking other ethnicities.
So you think they're unapologetic about this?
They're not. And those handles have been linked to the Lagos state government people.
But you're a Yoruba man. Why are you saying this about your people?
I don't know why people just say that because you're being a Yoruba person doesn't take my humanity away. But you must understand that this is not just about landmark. There's an Igbo problem in Nigeria. That's why they're holding Nnamdi Kanu.
What's your take on
for asking
Nnamdi Kanu's
for
potential
Biafra?
detention?
And then we are rehabilitating Boko Haram commanders. He said 220,000 of them have surrendered with foreign currency in their hand. And you have rehabilitated them. But one guy who says, we want justice, we don't want to stay in Nigeria, you are holding him perpetually using a judiciary or judicial, subterfuge to keep the trial. Everybody who knows what they are doing understand that it's not a judicial matter.
So Nnamdi is essentially a political prisoner.
He's a political hostage. Well, I'll call him not a political because he may not. Whomever is in power, except me, will keep him in jail.
Hello my people, how are they? Welcome back to Heke React. I'm back with another trending topic in Nigeria. So today, Matana Big Boge as we go expose the wahala behind the landmark demolition where don't scatter everywhere for Nigeria. So what's really happen? Who they behind this kind of thing and how it take connect to the serious poverty where they hold our people for truth. So you guys are aware that the CEO of Landmark recently came out, to complain about how the Lagos State government take demolish in business and they at the end of the day they didn't even consider to compensate him. So and he also said that he borrowed over $30 million in order to sponsor the business, but at the end of the day the business was demolished. So as he stands now, he's trying to he's telling people that he's going to move the same business to Port Harcourt. So by God's grace, maybe the business is going to survive in Port Harcourt. And so many people are saying that that is because that the Lagos state government did that because the guy is an Igbo guy. So many controversy. But I would like to hear what you guys think concerning this particular issue on the comment section below. So on this video, more Sowore be done come out, expose, break down all the hidden secrets and corruption and even political wahala where they cause all this katakata for Nigeria. So and he also talk about why Nigerian government have not released Nnamdi Kanu and also why Igbos are treated bad in Nigeria. So my guy, you need to pay attention to this video. It's very important. Make sure you drop your opinion in the comment section. Like the video so that YouTube will recommend it to others. Then subscribe to this channel. Subscription is free.
So it looks like the year only just started anyway, but a lot of things are already happening in Nigeria, from the president's speech and statement about bringing that inflation from 30-something% to 15%, to Peter Obi's statement and the reactions that follows, to Atiku Abubakar's intervention, to El Rufai statement about him deporting, is it porting? It's porting, that's what they call it. So him decamping from APC to SDP and all other issues. But in the midst of all of this, the hunger, the penury, the pain that the average Nigerian is going through is still at the front burner. Welcome to an exclusive on VOP TV. My name is Precious Enyi, and I am not here alone. I'm here with my colleague, Chikuma. Okay.
Good afternoon, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. So on today's exclusive, we have a very special person in the house, and we thought to feel his pulse on what's happening in the nation. All right, so with us in the studio is the presidential candidate of the AAC and a human rights activist, Mr. Omoyole Sowore. Good afternoon, sir. And
thank you for having me. Happy New Year to you and your viewers.
Thank you. Thank you. So I saw a tweet that you just tweeted today, and you say, make I talk for pidgin English. Yes. That's we switch. So you say the kind of hunger and pain where you see this administration, that the Tinubu's administration has inflicted on Nigerians, say nobody don't inflict that kind of hunger and pain before. Why did you do that?
Not be here. We have to keep telling people the truth. Say this people we come tell us that they bring the new hope. Now hopelessness that them bring. So and before it is difficult to tell people how it is bad rich. But this one, na your stomach, will tell you, say, town hard.
Okay, but the president has often said, and his followers have often said that the economy is rebounding. And you heard the APC spokesperson say that, that the economy is rebounding, and then the president said that it's just a teething period and necessary painful steps because we're living fake life. Do you not think that we should cut the president a slack a little bit and just watch and see his policies thrive and perhaps just give him the benefit of the doubt?
You know, I was calculating today that these guys have already spent 2 years almost in power.
Yes, almost.
Because by February of 2027, election is here. So we have about, almost
in fact,
2 years to go.
2026 electioneering starts.
In fact, they have started. They started electioneering already. But I think this time around, they want to deliver more hunger, more starvation, more poverty, so that people will come, they beg for them to at least give small. And then they will now preserve everything towards the end and at their usual palliatives.
With all that the president is doing?
What has he done? Make you tell me now. Where is it that you have found the jobs that they promised they will create? Where have you found the roads that they said the money they will save from removal of fuel subsidy they will use to build it? Where have you found the hospital that they built?
Okay.
The only people who are doing well is the president and his people. He's the one who bought a new jet in the midst of this starvation and poverty. He's the one who bought a new Escalade. He's the one who has been traveling around the world, just enjoying himself every week. He's in one place. He's the one who's getting the best medical health insurance, which is based in France. Every other thing for Nigerians now, just sorrow, tears, and blood. Apology to Fela.
All right, I understand the direction you are going.
Yes.
You are talking about things that here and now. But I wanted to look at the policy direction the president is traveling. If you look at quite a few things, you are a presidential candidate.
Yes.
I can't recall you talking much about removal of fuel subsidy. But
No, I was opposed to it.
Okay, you were opposed to it.
I was opposed
but
to
other
it.
people,
I knew that it would cause this problem that we have now.
Okay.
And I spoke extensively about it.
Okay, we'll come to that. But your co-contestants also said they were going to remove fuel subsidy.
Co-contestants are people who are in the same WhatsApp group. I was the only person who was not.
Okay, now remove the fuel subsidy. How about the local government autonomy, the way he's pushing it? How about the tax reform bills, the way he's pushing it? How about the state police, the way he's pushing it? How about the Regional Economic Development Commission, the way he's pushing it? Things might be hard now. Don't you think that he's traveling in a direction that
you don't solve problems of hunger and starvation by doubling bureaucracy. All these ones we have mentioned will lead to more government spendings that leads to nowhere. Providing jobs for their own voice. That's not this issue.
So you don't believe in the tax reform policy?
What is the tax reform going to do?
Redistribution of income and
collect more and all of that for the same people. I've already talked about tax before. That what you need is to increase not taxes, but expand the tax base. And I know this because Nigeria has the lowest tax base in the West Africa region. We're about 7 to, and it's because the rich people are not paying taxes. But now you want to collect more from the poor, which was something exported from Lagos. They exported this whole tax collection thing from Lagos. You know where it's going to end? You're going to have private tax collectors introduced nationally.
So
Yes.
you think that the alpha beta thing may play out nationally?
That's where they're headed.
Why do you think so?
Because to collect such taxes that they have introduced, they will need to introduce all these amorphous tax collection agencies that are not in government to do that for them. And that's where their head is, to provide an opportunity.
But if it's to make room for more efficiency in tax collections and taxation, doesn't matter.
I'm pointing you to Lagos. More taxes collected in Lagos. Lagos is still one of the most challenging places to live in the world.
But they also say that the tax reform bills are poor. That is going to benefit the poor. More like
you don't need to be told that these people don't work for poor people. They work to create poor people. That's what the government has always been about.
So you sound like there's a deliberate impoverishment of the
Nigerian people. That is what, what did removal of fuel subsidy do to you?
Governors are getting more money.
Yes. Governors are not poor. They are these people who are already rich who are getting more money. Are you getting me?
Okay,
yes.
Okay.
The rich is getting richer. The poor people are getting poorer.
So should we hold the president responsible for the fact that governors are getting more money, yet that money doesn't trickle down? Those money don't trickle down to the poor people.
Do you know what has happened under the Tinubu regime?
Okay.
They have created a one-state system, one-party state. That's what I was trying to say. And that is that if Tinubu travels to Lagos today, all the governors will come and greet him. To show appreciation for one thing, that you mentioned, they're getting more money, they're delivering less services, they are creating more poor people. So they are grateful to the man who is giving them more money to buy houses abroad, live large, and ball,
All right, so let's get to the subsidy removal that you talked about, because it's clear that we get your take on it. In 2012, when Jonathan wanted to remove subsidy, a lot of people, clamped down on it and said that, first of all, it was fake, including people in this administration. However, a lot of people, including this administration now, think that it's a way forward because they claim that the subsidy only enriches a minute set of people. But how come it's become very difficult for us to specify those people that the subsidy enriches alone, considering that people have often said that the countries that want us to that de-amplify the subsidy removal are, have one sort of subsidy or the other in their countries.
Yes.
I'm talking about the IMFs and World Banks of those.
That's right.
So why do you think it's been very difficult for us to block those leakages and those loopholes in our subsidy system, and then to also call them out and thoroughly deal with those people who are gaining from the subsidy?
That's exactly why when they are retelling these stories, we must keep telling it the appropriate way. People have said that in 2012, people fought against Jonathan's subsidy, and as a result, have no right to complain when Tinubu removed subsidy. That's not true. What we found out during Jonathan's time, after the Occupy Nigeria 2012 struggle, was that we actually found out that a lot of the people who were supplying fuel weren't supplying anything. Some of them, it was found out, were importing fuel to Nigeria with ships that capsized 20 years ago. You knew about it. Some were importing water and claiming, so the port became a place for racket. All of them were arrested, or some of them were arrested. They probably arrested the small boys. But go and ask today what happened to it. Was anybody jailed for? If anybody went to jail, the Court of Appeal was there to take them out. They are all back in business.
Why can they not be jailed today? Like this
because the people who are supposed to jail them are the ones who are the owners of the racket.
All right, so let's look at the end. Okay, so
I wanted to ask something. The inability of the previous government, Buhari, Jonathan, to remove fuel subsidy, and the ability of this current government, the president, to remove that subsidy, doesn't it show some kind of political will to do right?
It's not the political. It's not political will.
Where others fear to tread here.
No, it's not political will. See, why people like Tinubu are dangerous is that they have been in this game for a long time, and I said they are very dangerous people because they have been involved in everything. They were in the opposition. They have been in government before. So they understand the weakness of Nigerian people. That was why the day he removed subsidy was when nobody was watching. The day everybody was watching but not paying attention, which was the day of his inauguration. And I won't be surprised that him falling on that day was programmed to distract attention. They created content for people. Oh, Tinubu just fell on Yakata. But he did the worst thing that could happen to the economy of the people.
Was it only content? Because fuel immediately jumped from...
No, I'm not saying that. A lot of people paid more attention to the fact that he fell. What was trending. And
the impact of what he did.
The impact of what he did not catch up onto the public until a few days later they realized that, oh my God.
Okay, so you just sound like the president is somebody who already understands the character of Nigerians and he plays with the character. Is that what you're trying to say? That the president is deliberate with how he deals with Nigerians?
Most people don't know Tinubu as much as I know him. And it was because when we were doing pro-democracy, we knew them. We knew how they came to the pro-democracy movement and stylishly hijacked it with Nadeko and ran away from the country. Left those of us who really were doing the struggle to be endangered. Why they all disappeared?
Oh, you think that was deliberate?
It was.
So are you also of the school of thought that perhaps he was working with Abacha somehow? Because people are insinuating that there was a backyard movement, and that's why you have people like Bagbo working in this administration.
They were close. All the politicians at that time, the SDP people, they were all close. Even Abiola.
So that means he was betrayed in Adeko at that time?
No, they were all part of it. Even Abiola's cabinet, it was the cabinet Abiola wanted to use that he gave to Abacha. Foolishly. I would say that any day. Thinking that Abacha will hand over power to him. But there's nowhere in the world that people get power and hand it over to anybody. Not even a father will hand over power to their child except they are dying and they have no reason to keep on to power. So it's the same thing with all of them. Do you know how you understand what the game they were playing? When the military took over, when Abacha died, all these politicians went to meet with Abubakar. They did not ask after Abiola. Yes, we were in Lagos waiting for Abiola to be released. We saw them meeting with Abubakar. And when Abubakar took over power and handed over power, they were his greatest friends. I remember we going to protest against Abubakar when they were giving him an award at the Chicago State University.
Oh, wow. Famous Chicago State University.
The infamous Chicago State University.
I would just like to maintain famous.
Yes. All of them followed him there.
Whoa.
Yes, they followed him there. We were there. We saw Chief Shegun Shoba. I was like, but you guys were fighting against the military. Why are you so close? You know that they maintain a bond.
But the president have stated it several times that one of the reasons why he would ensure he works for the generality of the good of the people, it's because he fought the military, he risked his life, and he fought for this democracy we're enjoying.
You're saying that they didn't fight the military because they have the same characteristics. In fact, what they are doing is worse than what the military was doing.
What are those things?
Yes. This idea of jailing children after protests, jailing people for speaking against government officials. This is what the Decree 2 and Decree 4 people were doing.
So are you saying that the president administration is worse than the military?
It is worse than the military. The military did not even jail children during their own time.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
They didn't charge children for treason.
Okay, before we travel far from the fuel subsidy something, one last question. I want us to play some kind of role reversal. If you were the president, assuming you won the election, what would you have done differently regarding the fuel subsidy issue?
So, what I would have done differently is, first, I am aware of the people who are stealing fuel subsidy money. I know them. I know everybody that is involved. And do you know how I know? I covered fuel subsidy, fuel matters like nobody else under Sahara Reporters. I've seen all of them till today. So I would have clamped down on them immediately. And secondly, I would have fixed the refineries and created newer, smaller refineries. Because refineries are very easy to put together.
Like modular refineries?
Yes, even the ones, you can build a refinery within a year, they'll bring the parts, put it together. Okay. And the reason is simple. Even as Nigeria is unable to fix its own refineries, and they're lying about fixing the ones they fix.
I was coming to that.
Niger Delta militants are able to produce diesel in this country in large quantities.
They still produce kerosene. In fact, they bragged. There was a time they said that the kerosene that they're selling in most filling stations are supplied by them.
Yes. Okay. So if Niger Delta militants can be doing, the old style biology class distillation, how is it that the federal government cannot do the same thing? But don't forget that these same people that claim that they can't build refineries went and built refinery in Ivory Coast. Yes, under Jonathan. And we are importing fuel from there. There's a refinery in Niger. Niger doesn't even have oil. They're selling fuel to Nigeria. How's that Nigeria cannot build refineries? Even the Dangote refinery, the famous or famed Dangote, was built how many years ago? It was after occupying Nigeria that he built his refinery. Bua is going to finish his refinery very soon. All these guys benefited from forex provided by Nigerian government to build their refineries. The people who provided the environment, the support, the letters of credit cannot build, but the people they gave it to have become billionaires.
Okay, so you more like you like what the president is doing. I mean, Port Harcourt refinery one. No, you said they were going to refurbish the refinery.
No.
The one is working. He's working. They are working in Kaduna refinery.
Let me break down this to you. Let me start from Kaduna.
Okay.
They cannot fix Kaduna refinery in another 5 years.
Why?
There's no pipeline available anymore that can take crude to.
Is it just a pipeline, or because remember that Kaduna refinery does not refine Nigerian crude?
Yeah.
So
we are not even going there.
Okay.
But what they will do with Kaduna, I will tell you, this camp, is they will start trucking crude to the place. And that will be another opportunity for fraud. All the refineries they claim they have repaired.
Yes, Warrior and Port Harcourt one.
Is not producing up to 1 million liters per day.
Yes. How do you know this?
It's because we get, no matter what they tell you, there is a document that comes out of the refineries on a daily basis. And tell them to release it to the public, they will be embarrassed. Dangote refinery, with all its capacity, is about 5 million liters of petrol per day. And the Nigerian side of the refineries is using naphtha. They say have to go and blend at Idorama. before it can become petrol. Otherwise, it will ruin your car engine. But do you know how many liters of crude we have to consume every day? I mean, petrol or gasoline we consume every day, 42 million. All of these guys combined are producing 6. And they are jubilating over it.
Are you sure we really consume 42 million? Because that's still in contention as to the actual capacity of consumption.
I'm glad you said that, but that's the official information that we have of our consumption. And that's why a new president like me is needed, because I would have been able to immediately ensure that what we are consuming is what the state we are consuming. Because that's where the fraud comes from. You know, what happens at these ports in Lagos and wherever ports they bring is one of the greatest crime against Nigerian economy.
All right, so speaking about this very quickly before we run off to other conversations, there's been some sort of silent war between NNPC, Dangote, the federal government, that's, you know, that and then Malta, blend plants, accusations and all that. Would you like to speak to those very
Those ones are just...
Or do you think they're mere distractions? Because some people think they're just mere distractions.
Look, even among thieves, there is no honor. Yes, yes. So they're always fighting because it's Nigerian resources that's at stake, and it's free money. So Dangote, but those are not issues you should fight. You should concern yourself because they find it easy to resolve. They have conflict resolution mechanism in place that's better than what you can think traditional rulers, you know, because it's a real estate. They can't afford for the real estate to fall apart. That's why there are fights. Whenever you are following it, maintain your own reasonable distance. Otherwise, you just fall into their tricks. Dangote that told you that, you know, he just had a refinery, it's producing locally. His interest is profit, right?
Naturally.
So, but the Nigerian NNPC said they invested over 2 billion in Dangote refinery.
They even borrowed.
Yes. Dangote is now saying that he didn't see what they claim to have invested. He has downgraded on his own the investment to about 7%. But the question you should ask yourself is, why are you investing Nigerian money in a private refinery project when you see government has no business in business? Is that not what they tell us all the time? So why do you take government money that should have gone to education to invest in a private refinery? That you know the owner will do whatever he wants with it. And when they commissioned Dangote's refinery, it wasn't producing pure water. Today, they claim it's producing 5 million. But you can't even confirm that because of what I just said earlier, that there's no honor among thieves. They have to fight themselves because they must have changed themselves along the way.
All right.
But they will resolve all that because it's all about greed.
So, sorry, one last thing for me before we move. Do you think you have what it takes, you know, to confront the oil cabal?
Oh.
Very strong cabal.
I
mean, the Dangote has been sweating because of this cabal. Do you think Omoyele Sowore has what it takes to confront this cabal?
When I was 21 years old, I confronted, alongside others, no doubt, the strongest cabal in this country, the Nigerian military. We drove them out of power in 1993. I'm sure you were around at that time. We drove Babangida out of power. He said he stepped aside, he never stepped back in. So, and I have been involved consequently in the struggle fighting cabals, either through protests, through the media arm that I founded. So cabals are not difficult people to fight if you have courage and you have knowledge. In fact, you are intellectually sound, because the easiest way to defeat them is with facts, first and foremost. And when they are presented with it, they melt evidence. And that's some struggle I've fought over the years. It's a battle of grit.
All right, so speaking
but
about
also
facts.
of intellect. So there's nothing about these cabals that is difficult. But you cannot use cabal to fight cabal. That's where the problem with Nigeria is. You cannot use thieves to fight thieves. They know themselves.
So speaking about cabals right now, speaking about facts and figures, by the way, the president did have a media chat. He did say a lot of things. And then he had a New Year's speech where he did say a lot of things. And the presidential candidate of the Labour Party had a New Year's speech where he also did say a lot of things. But we're speaking about the hardship in the country. You did state to that hardship in this country. And P2B mentioned quite a lot of things to that hardship. But there seem to be like some sort of agreement within the present ruling class as to what the real actual situation in Nigeria is. you know, I don't know if you understand exactly
No,
what
I don't
I'm saying.
understand
Okay,
what
the
you're
point
saying.
is that when people say that things are hard, and they say, no, things are rebounding. When people say we have 100 and 101.5 million, 150 million Nigerians living in multidimensional poverty, they say, no, people are buying cars, building houses, and all of those. In
The
your
president said
opinion,
one of his friends had 4 Rolls
fantastic. In your opinion,
Downgrade.
exactly,
That's
that's
downgrade.
downgrade.
Because me, I think...
In your opinion, what is the real situation of Nigeria?
Me, I think that the real situation of things is him saying that he had a guy who had 4 Rolls Royces who is now riding Honda.
Yes.
He has told you the story.
And that made him happy.
Yeah, that things were good before, but they are really bad now. But what he was trying to communicate was a lie, that people are adjusting and cutting their coat according to their size. But the question should go to him. You as president, how come you didn't cut your own coat or the nation's coat according to your own size? Why was it that in the midst of this, your friend who has 4 Rolls Royces now riding, why did you upgrade your presidential jet from a Boeing business jet to an A340 jet, which was $150 million? That is after the upgrade was done.
And by the way, we still don't have accounts of where that money came out from.
Exactly.
So now.
It was not budgeted for. Nobody knew where the money came from. And that tells you that these guys are a bunch of liars. And that tells the story of the two Nigeria that we live in, Tale of Two Cities.
So are Nigerians suffering? Are they hungrier now than ever?
I have been around Nigeria for a while now. I haven't seen this level of hardship.
You haven't seen
This level of hardship that I saw
Yeah.
in last December and this January that I've seen in a long time. And I'm not exaggerating. I've seen people really struggling and suffering. And I mentioned it somewhere. For the first time that I traveled home on the 30th of December, the roads were practically free. If there was traffic, it was caused by police extortion, which was visible on Google Maps. People weren't traveling because they couldn't afford to travel. They couldn't afford to eat. They couldn't afford to celebrate. And they know it. Because what you must understand is that all the statistics about hunger, starvation, and suffering is available to government. They have it.
But the government usually does not address this issue when voices come up to speak. When people speak about the poverty, instead of addressing these issues, they rather attack the characters of those who state about those issues.
Because they have no solutions available to address the issues.
Is that why?
It is why. That's the reason why they are aggressive and very, very feisty. When people, look at what they did in August. Because we were on this show a lot, on your channel a lot in August.
During the protest.
Yes. Look at the way they handled children. Charging children with treason for protesting is the highest level of aggression against people who are hungry. So what they did to those children, is it comparable to what they did to their government critics? And they've expanded the repression of free speech. So every day people are getting arrested for cybercrime. So what they did to Dele Farotimi.
Oh yes, I was going to speak to that.
Abducted across state lines to Ekiti. And anybody who thinks that Dele was arrested because of Afewa Balola doesn't understand the way Nigeria works.
Really?
No, they have been laying ambush for him. But that was a perfect excuse to get him and punish him.
So wait, we have to digest this.
No.
So Dele Farotimi, you're saying that Dele Farotimi was not arrested because of the accusations or the things he stated about Afewa Balola in his book.
In case you don't understand, and maybe you didn't follow, after Dele was arrested and sent to prison by the magistrate, the federal government went and charged him fresh in the federal high court.
The federal government? I thought it was someone from Afewa Balola's chambers.
No, there was another charge against him filed by the federal government for cyber. You know that even the Afewa Balola chambers case was Commissioner of Police versus Dele Farotimi. It's the Nigerian state that officially filed the case against him, the police. But the next one, I think, was also Commissioner of Police versus Dele, but the fiat came from the Attorney General's office. That's federal cybercrime. So he has 2 charges hanging on his neck in Ekiti. But
why Ekiti anyway?
That's it's forum shopping, it's called. You want to punish somebody, you're going to look for a forum where he cannot get justice. It's called forum shopping.
So why do you think the federal government was more interested in, taking charge of the case than the person whom he accused?
Because Dele is offending them, and they've been looking for how to deal with him. And that was the perfect opportunity to do so.
Okay.
I am not saying that Afe Babalola, but Afe Babalola understood well that if somebody wrote something against you in a book, it's a civil matter.
Okay, talking about Dele offending them, there seems to be a lot of people that are offending them. Peter Obi is talking, he's quite vocal. Sowore is talking, quite vocal. Atiku Abubakar is talking, and a lot of other people. And it does seem like, let's take the issue of Peter Obi now, that is in contention now, the altercation between him and Felix Moka, where Felix Moka said that, look, Obi has crossed the line and he should be ready for the consequences of his action. I want to ask you, is there anything Obi said that you have not said or any other person hasn't said about the economic decline and the suffering in the land? Have you crossed the line?
I have crossed the line since I was in the university.
So you are always within shooting range?
I'm perpetually, I've crossed the line. If I adjusted it, I crossed it.
So why do you think they don't come out for you the way they come out for Peter Obi?
Was I not charged for treason in this country? Was I not restricted to Abuja for 5 years? Was my brother not shot and killed on the highway in this country? You see, what you must understand is that they target people based on their vulnerability. They looked at Obi, they know how to rattle him. That's why I didn't get involved. It was a family affair. They know themselves. They know who they can try the nonsense with. So, people like us, whatever you bring, you understand, we're like battle tanks. You shoot, it bounces back, you understand, and we will shoot back too. But to them, they know that Obi is new in the activism. Obi is trying to become an activist that they are not comfortable with, and they know that Obi is also not ready for the activism that he has declared. Don't forget that Obi earlier declared that he's ready for everything. And they said, okay, you are ready for everything, stay in the line of fire.
I want you to talk more about...
And they just sent their first bazooka. And Obi is like, oh my God, they threaten us every day. They threaten me every day. But, let me tell you, if I'm threatened by a party president, I won't even react. Because those are non-entities in the business. The people we are fighting is not the Felix Mokas of this world. We are fighting the Oga. So if Felix Moka were to threaten me, do you think I will respond to him? I don't. I've had circumstances where I was on the show with him, he ran away. I can handle those ones are minions of the main people. That's why I'm surprised that everybody's like, oh, Felix Moka.
How do we get to a country where we have people who are in the position of leadership speak true to the criticisms that are being thrown on them rather than attacking the characters that have thrown such criticisms?
This is exactly what happens in a country where leaders are not elected. Tinubu was not elected by Nigerian people.
He wasn't elected. He had over 8 million votes.
He was elected by INEC. It's vote allocation. Everybody understood that. So when you get there, they'll be defensive because they know that they don't have legitimacy. You understand? If you are legitimately the leader of the people and you're working for the people, why would you be worried that the people are criticizing him? But this has been the nature of defensive leadership because first, their ascension to power is compromised, number one. Secondly, they have nothing to offer other than insults and counter insults. That's why you see the president of the country is more interested in hiring people who know how to insult as opposed to people who know how to solve problems.
But you have made a very serious allegation on national television saying that the president was not elected but selected by
serious allegation. It's not only a serious allegation, it's the truth.
You also talked about legitimacy. Yes. And that very election passed through a court process, tribunal process, ended up in the Supreme Court, and that election was upheld.
The annulment
of legitimacy do we want?
The annulment of June 12th election passed through the judiciary too. Do you remember? Does it make it legitimate? See, something can be legal but not legitimate. That's the legal process. It doesn't confer legitimacy on you. The election of the president of Madagascar, or is it Mozambique, was accepted by the court. The people refused to accept it. The only luck they have here is that the people did not challenge them the way they should.
Why do you think the people are docile challenging these situations?
Well,
if that's the case,
it depends on the people who they offend. You understand? And that's a conversation for another day, because also they take advantage of those who are supposed to lead the struggle, who they know don't have the guts to do that. But like I said, it's a conversation for another day. If they believe they won election, they won't be this defensive. Because they would have understood that in a country that has 200 million people, you will have people who don't agree with you and people who agree with you. So you always discover that when leaders in Nigeria don't perform well, how you know they will go and get Rottweilers and Chihuahuas to be their spokesperson. I won't be surprised if this guy is going to bring Femi Fani-Kayode to come on board, because this is the time they need him.
All right, so speaking
he has no filter, and it is when government is failing that they bring people like that. People who just come and talk.
Now speaking about getting Rottweilers and Chihuahuas, like you mentioned, that a lot of people have come for Ruben Abati, journalists like you and I, and has said, some people are even accusing him of wanting, because he's tested the pecs of governance, so he wants to get back to Aso Rock again, and that's why he's now on the side of the presidency supporting them. Do you talk towards that direction? Do you think there are people who deliberately just speak good of the government just because they want to garner favor?
Of course. The issue with Nigeria is that most of these people who come up as public opinion molders on all sides, they are looking for favors. Are you getting me? So even the people who are opposed to the government, they're also looking for favors most of the time. Some people will criticize government because they are looking for favor. Some people will support government because they are looking for favor. It is when the favor comes to them that you understand who is looking for favor.
Is there any example today?
There are plenty now. Look at all the Labour Party people that they come to APC. Are they not looking for favor?
Yeah.
Why didn't they stay in their party?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Still talking about Abati and people, favor seekers. I want you to rate these days this Man of the Year award to the president based on his economic reforms. It's conducted by this day. The assessment is made by this day board of editors and all of that. Do you agree
this
with them?
Board of editors is our Duke of Obeagbena. That's the whole of this day, and he doesn't hide it. And you have to like him for it, that he doesn't hide where his bread is buttered.
Oh, so I think it's just purely for interest.
This day has been doing polls, forever. And I'm not saying it in hiding. Me and him, we always have fights over it. Yes. They would say that somebody's going to win election and they didn't conduct any polls. Are you getting my point? So that's what the Man of the Year is. But, technically anybody can be a Man of the Year, both a saint and a villain. All right, so is it contradictory? There was a year that Bin Laden was Man of the Year because he was the most notorious human being on earth.
Yes, even Saddam Hussein.
Yes, so anybody can be Man of the Year. But in this one, I can say that it has something to do with Man of the Year. They're using it to curry favor from Tinubu. There's no question about it, and I can challenge them any day. That there's nothing, because the basis was that he took tough economic decisions. Any tough economic decision that hurts the people is not economic decision.
So, but is it contradictory that this came when an international organization also scored the president rather a bit low in corruption?
Which organization?
That is the OCCP area that scored the president number third as the number third most corrupt world leader.
I don't think you need any international organization to tell you that.
So are you saying the president is corrupt?
Of course, he is.
So are you saying that particular award or statistics from OCCP
anybody whose
is
source
deserving?
Of wealth cannot be traced to any hard work is corrupt in this country. We know that. Yeah, it's not.
But that's the president of our country, and there were lots of yardsticks.
There's a lot of presidents of countries that are corrupt, and this is not the first one. Are we not finding out that Buhari is a very corrupt human being? Didn't just find an estate that has 738 houses, 753 houses in Abuja owned by one person that they couldn't. That's the Emefiele that is on the front page. But what we're hearing is that that was Buhari's retirement piece. So they just used Emefiele as the front. That was why the EFCC could not name the owner of the estate, even though they went and filed in court against Emefiele, because it wasn't Emefiele alone that owned the place. It's Buhari and his people.
All right, so let's look at the ratings and the yardsticks to getting that award, to giving the president that award. One of the things they mentioned was an unverified drug trafficking issue, the Chicago State University results certification issue. They also mentioned, I think they mentioned something about the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway that was awarded to a crony, according to them and all that. But that notwithstanding, is there any president who doesn't actually favor his own people? So is that deserving?
I thought we were discussing perception.
Yes.
That's what these corruption ratings are about.
Yes.
And I don't
So
know,
all this
I don't
enough
think-
to create such perception?
Yes,
That's
of
the
course.
point.
I don't know this organization. I have to be honest with you. I have not followed, because you also have to be careful sometimes. So many of these organizations are just like organizations that are created by, sometimes unknown groups, and they just fly a story out there, and I've seen enough of that. So until an outside organization to tell you that the Calabar Lagos Expressway and the award process was fraudulent, nobody needs to tell you that. Anything that didn't pass through the normal process of award or contract is carried out in an opaque way. It's corruption, pure corruption.
Now, speaking
So
about
I don't
that
need an international organization to tell me that Beta Edu is corrupt. I don't need an international organization to tell me that most of the things I've been doing in Aso Rock and awarding contracts, what some ministers are doing that are already public knowledge, is corruption. Even the purchase of the presidential jet, opaquely done, that's corruption.
Okay, as we speak about perception and corruption,
Yes.
it's good to find out that I can't recall on top of my head, when the current president, has been investigated or charged to court by EFCC or any
It was
anti-graft
one
agency.
charge to court before the Code of Conduct Bureau.
Okay, for
That's on declaration
corruption.
of
Yes,
declaration
that's
of-
corruption.
no, I'm talking in terms of
No.
dipping hands and taking money
Yes.
and all of that.
The National Security Advisor today,
No, Rivali.
no Ribad, listed Tinubu as one of the most corrupt governors.
Did he try him?
That's not my job. But he took a file to the National Assembly and named all the governors that were corrupt. His name Tinubu. He was EFCC chairman at that time, so he should know better. The Alpha Beta scandal shows that the person who was involved in transferring money said this is the amount of money we stole from Lagos, and that we are owing the Nigerian government 150 billion naira in taxes. The man disappeared to Dubai for a while. I heard he was settled now. The case has disappeared from the surface of the earth. So, but that cannot stop us from telling the truth about what we know. There are people who didn't have a cocoa farm, who became billionaires, private jet owners, and we know how they're making their money legally and not corrupt. We will say it and say it with total conviction, and we can defend it anywhere.
All right, so let's speak to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. There were accusations by the owner of Landmark, for instance, that he was not given adequate information before the demolition, and he hasn't been compensated a dime since then till now. And then the road, as the construction as we speak, is about abandoned because it's in court. The SDP presidential candidate, governorship candidate, Felicia Doherty, took the federal government to court on that issue. It's in court. What do you think? How do you think this case is eventually going to end?
No, let me tell you. Before they brought the Calabar
Coastal
Lagos
Highway.
Highway, they've had issue with the Landmark owner.
Oh, wow. Why?
Yes, because he's been trying to expand there, and he wanted a piece of land between where he does conference and a hotel.
Okay.
They claim it was owned by the Lagos State Water Corporation. So they will never give him, because they have always said it, and this is information that is known within their circle, that they will never allow an Igbo man to expand in that place.
Oh, whoa. So you think
Yes.
this is about where...
That's where it started.
Okay.
So
Oh,
the
wow.
guy himself knew in advance that they don't want him to expand in that place. It's a well-known fact. And when this opportunity came for the coastal highway, they didn't waste time in going after him. So all the things he was doing with Lagos State government, as we later found out, they were not on record. But they did it deliberately. They take money from him, we're processing. So
You think they were expunged from record or they were just on
they
record?
just didn't put it on record. For instance, a certain part of the land projection into the Atlantic Ocean. They did not, of the lagoon, whatever part, they did not.
The beach area.
Yes, they did not put it in the records. They just come and say, keep going. They knew what they were doing. And guess what? When they started the demolition of the place, they then found out later that there's nowhere they need to build.
Exactly.
the
Remember
highway.
there was a question about the environmental impact assessment.
That tells you that it was pure malice as opposed to development.
So this was
And
pure malice on
Against a business person, they didn't approve of his business.
because of his tribe.
Because of his ethnicity. I can say that, and because I was aware of that case. In fact, I was the one who first pushed the story about his the attack on his property. Because I've been there before. I've been to Landmark several times. So if you ask him, he's been having issues with them because they won't sell that piece of land to him that would have enabled him to connect the hotel with the conference area. You can go and check it. And they claim at that time that that is the place that the West African highway was supposed to pass through, that we're not going to sell it to you. So when is that when they needed Calabar Expressway, they didn't use the place they refused to sell to him? That they claim, because that Calabar Lagos Expressway is supposed to actually come from Senegal. It's a West African coastal highway.
Coastal highway, okay.
So it has been designed a long time ago. It wasn't a new place. But the moment the opportunity came for them to clamp down on this businessman, they used it to quickly.
Now, Mr. Sowore,
Yes.
what does this mean for a president who's been traveling and as stated by Peter Obi, he spent 30% of his time in office traveling to market the country? If a business owner that is of the same origin in the country can be attacked because of his ethnic affiliation, what does it tell to the image of the country and to the people that the president has been marketing this country
You
to?
don't need to go far. You know how they brazenly talk about election in this country. You know, there was a time the Oba of Lagos said the people don't vote for Igbos who don't vote for them will be driven into Lagoon. What else do you want them to say? You see them on Twitter, they have handles that are dedicated to, attacking other ethnicities.
So you think they're unapologetic about this?
They're not. And those handles have been linked to the Lagos state government people.
But you're a Yoruba man. Why are you saying this about your people?
I don't know why people just say that because you're being a Yoruba person doesn't take my humanity away. But you must understand that this is not just about landmark. There's an Igbo problem in Nigeria. That's why they're holding Nnamdi Kanu.
What's your take on
for asking
Nnamdi Kanu's
for
perpetual
Biafra.
detention?
And then we are rehabilitating Boko Haram commanders. He said 220,000 of them have surrendered with foreign currency in their hand. And you have rehabilitated them. But one guy who says, we want justice, we don't want to stay in Nigeria, you are holding him perpetually, using the judiciary or judicial, subterfuge to keep the trial. And everybody who knows what they are doing understand that it's not a judicial matter.
So Nnamdi is essentially a political prisoner.
He's a political hostage. Well, I'll call him not a political because he may not. Whomever is in power, except me, will keep him in jail.
So do you think that Igbos generally are endangered species in Nigeria? Going back what you just narrated.
The truth, that's the truth. Nigeria did not forgive Igbos since the end of the Civil War.
What did they do?
Because they challenged the real estate of the British called Nigeria. So, and they didn't forgive them since then. So everything has been done after that. We know this is the unspoken truth about the country called Nigeria, that they did not forgive Igbos for the Civil War.
The Igbos were the victims and they have forgiven the victims. So why is it difficult for the victors to...
You are preaching to the choir.
And because he had mentioned once that, in an interview once, he had mentioned that the Igbos will never be president of Nigeria. That is a perpetual, narration to keep the Igbos where they are.
Yeah, so no, it's not about even the presidency. If they find an Igbo man that is malleable, that can work in their interest, they can make him president if he doesn't have any power. You can be a president of, you can be a president of Nigeria and not have the powers of the president. When they wanted to destroy the landmark, who was the minister in charge? It's not an Igbo man.
And Moka is Igbo speaking, also fighting.
It's easier for them to use an Igbo man to carry out. If it was done by a Yoruba man, the uproar would have been worse. But you find an Igbo minister of works to help you demolish Igbo businessmen. You say, can't you see them? So it's easier that way. It's manipulation. It's how Nigeria manipulate people. But I'm not saying that if he was a Yoruba minister, he cannot demolish. They will do it too. It's easy. Anybody could have done it as long as there's an agreement to do it. Because beyond just ethnicity, there's also an elite conspiracy against Nigerian people. So an average poor person is endangered. But you are likely more endangered if you have committed a generational crime against the Nigerian real estate.
By being an Igbo man.
Of course. That's the truth. That's why you were saying, oh, you are Yoruba man. If, based on what I say, they even tell me I'm not Yoruba enough. But I'm of mixed heritage. There's a part of me that is Ijo.
Okay.
But we are the Ijo-speaking Yorubas. We're the Yoruba-speaking Ijos in Ondo State.
Okay.
So they call us Ijo Apoy.
Ilaje area?
No, it's Ilaje. So we're next to Ilaje.
Okay.
But my great-grandparents came from Yoruba side of things. But the stream that Sowore is named after is in Ijebu. waterside, because that's how they came. So, but I don't speak to people based on ethnicity. I don't define myself based on my ethnic heritage, even though I do not deny it. But because it underlies our humanity to be assigned an ethnic position before you can be respected. Are you getting my point? Or before your views can carry on, so you have to be a Yoruba man, and then it's
So we've had
here comes one of them.
We've had Rwanda manage the same ethnic issue in their country with the Tutsi thing after years of genocide.
Are you sure they managed it?
Well, to a reasonable extent.
They manage it through genocide. And Nigeria
after genocide management.
So this is what you should understand.
Okay.
Nigeria also managed the Igbo problem through genocide. 4 million Igbos. So
yeah, I was coming to that.
Is that not genocide? But you know the problem I have sometimes even with some of our people is that the same people who shot and killed them are more popular in their midst than those who support their rights. The passengers of this world are embraced as authentic people, but these are the people who went and used third commando to massacre Igbos. What did they name this airport after? Murtala Mohammed, one of the most notorious killers of Igbos. Buhari, they kill Igbos. Danjuma, they kill Igbos. Gowon, they kill Igbos. But they even love them more than they love those of us who are fight. People challenge me that they hate me because I support Nnamdi Kanu, and I say so be it, because I know that I'm supporting justice, and I cannot support injustice because I want political favors from a country. If you want to keep carrying out genocide of political nature or continuation of it, you can go ahead. Keep voting for the criminals who are perpetrating it. Let the forest be voting for the acts because the handle is from one of them.
Okay. Yeah, I said something. I would like you to touch more on it. I mean, the Igbos were victims. Now they are forgiving the victors. There is no place you don't find the footprints of Igbos across the length and breadth.
That's why I say you are preaching to the choir. Igbos are not only in Nigeria, they're all over the world. I went to Alabama in the US, and the only pharmacist there is an Igbo man. Selma, Alabama. You've heard about Selma?
Yeah.
It's one of the homes of the civil rights movement, where they cross that Petra Bridge.
Exactly.
Igbo man is there. Most likely that's what you find in every community in the US. Igbos are distributed all over the world. There's this urban legend that if Igbos cannot live in a place, the place is not livable. There was a time, a New York Times reporter came to Gamboru, Gala, after Boko Haram sacked the place. The only person they found there who was not a Boko Haram member was an Igbo pharmacist. So what are you doing here? I said, well, somebody has to treat them. He was that courageous not to stay there. So I'm saying all these things so that you can understand that I understand probably more consciously better than most people do. And that informs the reason I can speak categorically about the victimization of Igbo. Otherwise, it is a taboo. Politically, it is incorrect to say that Igbos are victimized by an average Nigerian.
Okay. All right. So let's move straight.
Nobody wants to hear the truth. And when you say, if somebody's watching me and get out of this, Sowore, what's your problem now? Leave these Igbo people alone. You understand? That is the truth. But I cannot, my conscience cannot allow me to accommodate the genocide of 3 million people, 4 million people, and then the continuation of that denunciation of the existence through persecution, in which the Nigerian state is carrying out, either through Landmark or Nnamdi Kanu, or, look, I told a story, I think it was on the Honest Punch, that in this country, there was a time they were beheading Igbos, putting their heads in calabash and putting on the trains going.
Do you think that's what's happening in the East right now? Speaking about militarization in the East.
Pogrom, you understand? And that's why they're doing it. It's what they're doing. When we did August, what did we ask for? Demilitarization of the East and release of Nnamdi Kanu was one of our demands. But it was the most denounced demands, even by human rights people. They told us, no, don't include Kanu in your demands. Otherwise, we will not join you. Because Nigeria is made to believe that a crime committed against Igbo doesn't fall under human rights abuse.
So let's speak about that crime against Igbo, because I think I read in your paper recently.
And unfortunately the Ohanese people said they should not join the protests, that they are negotiating with Tinubu. They even said that he will release him for Christmas gift, as if he's a Christmas goat.
Oh, all right, so speaking about this militarization of the Southeast, recently I read in your platform, a popular media mogul, one of the media platform in Lagos State, was dehumanized in the Southeast. He was traveling through Anambra State to Asaba Airport, and he was accosted. He and about 3 DSS officials were accosted by military personnel who, you know, dehumanized them, told them to lie on the floor. In fact, told them they were going to shoot at them, told them that they were IPOB. Do you think there has been accusations that most of the people killed in the Southeast in the guise of IPOB are really not IPOB, but they were killed by military? Do you think that this is exactly what's happening?
These guys are burning down villages, Nigerian army. They are burning down villages. Like, if you are 17 years old in the East, you carry any kind of hairstyle and you run into a military checkpoint, you're automatically targeted. It's profiling.
Oh, wow.
You understand? But go to Katsina. Listen to this before we end this broadcast. The government in Katsina said a whole local government with tons of bandits have only 5 policemen in their area. They have only 1 vehicle, no military. But there are bandits all over the place. Why is it that banditry and terrorism in the north is treated with kid gloves, and people who are asking for what is recognized by the United Nations as self-governance, the request for self-governance, is treated as a crime against the state? But terrorism is not treated the same way in the East. I traveled in the northern part of Nigeria during the election in 2019 and also in 2023. You can drive all the way from some of the most, bandits havens.
Dangerous points.
Dangerous points. And there will be no policeman or army on the way.
Okay.
But you cannot travel in the East today. Is 1 kilometer, 1 military battalion.
Unfortunately, that is what it is. Before we leave, can I ask you a personal question?
Go ahead.
You have we have spoken a lot here, and you are more like a repetition of speaking truth to power. Oh, Sowore, do you fear for your life?
It's too late. My life had been taken several times to the point that all I'm dedicated to is living my life one day at a time. And the reason is this. When I was leaving the university, I did not know, I left the university at the age of 24, 25. I did not know that I would make it up to 30. So I used to say at that time that I was living on borrowed times. I'm 54 now. If I die today and an autopsy is performed on me, they will find the heart of a 90-year-old man inside my body, because it's been a lot. My heart has carried a lot of pain and anguish, but I've carried on, and as a result, I cannot be afraid of my shadows when people who didn't even do half of what I've done have died of preventable diseases, some malaria. So people like me are lucky. And if you look at the life expectancy of a Nigerian man, I think it's now
50 something, 56,
54.
56.
So I've lived a few months above that. I'm going to be 55 in February. I've tried.
You're not going anywhere yet. But before you go, before you start going where you want to go to, let's look at 2027. There's been lots of chess playing here and there against 2027, and then coalition of some people are already saying that there's no way anybody can beat Bola Ahmed Tinubu in any election, irrespective of his performance.
No,
if they don't come together. What do you think is the way forward?
You can beat Tinubu in an election, but you cannot beat him in this election, and that's what they are planning. They're not going to have another election.
Are you serious?
Yes, they're not.
How do you mean?
Well, let's start from here. Who conducts the election? INEC. Go and find out how many federal electoral commissioners were appointed by Tinubu who are APC card-carrying members to replace the ones that are retired. Almost infinite. Did you know that Bola Tinubu appointed 11 Supreme Court justices since he came to power? These two bodies.
So there is no hope in Nigeria will continue like this?
Well, if you don't want to continue like this, make it very clear that we can't continue like this. And that has to happen now. But if you don't, you are going to continue worse than this in the next few months and years to come. Because they have already decided the next selection.
That's a tough call.
Yeah, but they may not. The only thing that I'm hopeful about is that they may not be as lucky as they did last time. Because I think people are tired too.
Do you think they really are tired?
Well, they're tired, but the question is, do they have the energy to push back? That's the question. But in terms of tiredness, you can see it's written all over the horizon that Nigerians are
Why do you think they lack the energy to push back if they're really tired?
You see, Nigerians have, and I'm going to say something that will be controversial. Nigerians have a gene in their DNA called the happiness gene. It's called the happiness gene. And they are happy regardless of what they go through, what I call foolish happiness.
We're naturally, but there's nothing wrong with being happy.
Yes, but how can you be happy when you should be sad? If you don't allow those emotions to run, side by side, then you cannot be upset enough to change your objective conditions. That's where we are. And it's a bad place to be. There are times to be happy, times to be sad, times to be angry. That's what humans are supposed to react to, depending on the circumstances they are faced with. So I think we've done enough.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okoro, you have a message I want to quickly, I don't know if we
I'm trying to fish it out,
take that out. But if we can, that'll be it. Thank you so much.
I'm always available.
And you're giving me a handshake on there. That's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. At least we did not fight today, right? I'm hoping for more no fighting conversations from you.
I'm a fighter, so
I see that as in you.
I would say bring it on.
All right, thank you so much. And that's it.
Happy New Year to all your viewers.
Thank you.
No matter what.
Thank you.
It's difficult to be happy in the New Year.
We'll try.
Even when you don't know what the year.
Exactly. We know what it's bringing, and it doesn't look good.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Well, on that very not so good, but a bit good, hopefully with prayer, quotes by Omoyole Sowore, we end today's conversation. It's been an explosive conversation with Omoyole Sowore. Thank you so much. I appreciate you once more. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Precious Enyi. Thank you so much for obliging us.
And I am Chukwuma Okoro. Bye for now.